There are three principal coalitions vying for power in this 15th general election in Malaysia. The mainstay ruling coalition, National Front or Barisan Nasional, is contesting again. And close by is the Alliance of Hope or Pakatan Harapan, led by former opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim. And then there's a new third coalition called Perikatan Nasional or National Alliance, which is led by former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin and his allies from the Islamic Party of Malaysia.
Do you think the Prime Minister's decision to call the elections so early will pay off for him and his coalition?
Well, I think the thinking to call early elections stems from the earlier experiences in this year as well as last year, when the ruling party called for state elections and where they performed very well on the account of low voter turnout and also a fragmented opposition. But the surveys that we have done seems to point to, I think, an interesting development, particularly as the election is taking place during the monsoon season and after the inflation issues that has gripped the country as it has in everywhere else in the world.
How much is Najib Razak's recent sentencing for his role in the 1MDB scandal going to work against UMNO?
Najib Razak's case and sentencing is, an ongoing process. While he started to serve his jail term, there are other cases that he is serving under, or rather is in court. There are also other leaders from the ruling coalition that are undergoing court cases. And one most notable figure is the president of the ruling party himself. All of these court cases is weighing upon voters. And so when we ask voters what issues concern them, besides the economy and inflation, close by is the issue of corruption and the ongoing need to clean up government in Malaysia.
What are the chances of Anwar Ibrahim finally nabbing the position that has eluded him for so many years?
Well, Mr. Anwar Ibrahim, has a decent chance at getting the top position in Malaysia. And the reason is because the political arena is so fragmented and that his coalition, does have sizable support. At this point in time, the surveys and polling that has been conducted in Malaysia seems to point to no single coalition being able to attain a simple majority in parliament. If that is the case tomorrow, then Mr. Anwar will have to work with other political parties and try to put together a coalition and gain the support of other parliamentarians and be sworn in as Prime Minister.
Well, 97-year-old stalwart Mahathir Mohamad is also in the running. What impact will he have on the election?
Well, Dr. Mahathir's party, he's formed a new party and formed together a small coalition with other smaller groups. That, I think, effort, that initiative, is probably going to split some votes in certain parts of the country. But by and large, I think the impact is minimal. But having said that, Dr. Mahathir still has a fairly decent chance of winning his constituency in the resort island of Langkawi.
Why is it so hard to predict what's going to happen in these elections? What are the likely scenarios? Can you single them out?
Well, the reason why this election is hard to predict is because for the first time, there is a viable alternative to the ruling coalition among the majority Malay Muslim voters. And because this coalition is new, no one knows exactly for sure how much support they can draw away from the ruling coalition. That's one point. The second point is that we have an additional 27% or 6 million new people voting for the first time when the Constitution was amended to lower the voting age to 18 years old. So the large numbers of young people who will be voting for the first time creates a greater uncertainty because no one really knows how they're going to choose, particularly when they gain, the ability to vote during the COVID lockdown period. And at the same time, we do also know that the ability of the government to influence them through information channels have become greatly diminished. So that's a big uncertainty. The situation right now points towards a swing from younger as well as Malay Muslim voters to the opposition. What makes it difficult to ascertain the outcome is there are two principal opposition parties. So how does it split amongst the two? That is the big question for tomorrow.
It really is so complex, isn't it? But at the same time, 3 leaders in 5 years. How much do Malaysians yearn for political stability, and what are some of the issues that will impact how they vote tomorrow?
Well, Malaysians are very concerned about political certainty because the changing of leaders also means the changing of ministerial portfolios. And over the last 3 to 4 years, there has been policy gridlock, and the country has not been able to produce new policies that can address some of the long-term issues that it's facing. I think critical issues that Malaysians probably realize is that the government is saddled with a huge subsidy bill that it needs to find a way to dial down. At the same time, the pandemic has affected government revenue. So moving ahead, the new government will have to have a strong enough mandate to institute new strategies to raise government revenue, and at the same time, reduce the subsidy dependency without affecting the quality of public services.
Another important question, what's the weather like tomorrow? How is it expected to impact the turnout?
Well, the Met Department, is projecting rain showers in the afternoon in most parts of mainland Malaysia. But Sabah and Sarawak and Borneo seems to have cloudy but potentially less likelihood of rain. And interestingly, we noted a couple of things, over the last 24 hours. The government has declared today, Friday, a holiday here in Malaysia, and has also waived highway toll charges for vehicles traveling on the paved roads. And what we've noticed is that traffic volume is very high. And so we are projecting a high voter turnout, perhaps in excess of 75 to 80%. Rain may affect some places, but I think the enthusiasm for people to vote is very high.
And just finally, which are the electorates that you're watching closely? Are you expecting any surprises?
Yeah, we are expecting surprises. And like I said earlier, because it is such a very tightly contested election, I think first and foremost, we think that no single coalition will be able to win many of their districts with 50% of the vote, that the vote really is split 3 ways. Second, there are many constituencies or districts across the country where it's going to be hotly fought for. And this time, the battle is shifting to the rural hinterland of the country, because now we have 2 very large Malay-Muslim coalitions battling it out. And at the same time, Mr. Anwar's coalition seems to also be gaining some traction with younger voters. And therefore, we think that this outcome may produce a higher vote share or higher seat share for Mr. Anwar's coalition. But the question mark is, will he be able to cross the 112 seats needed to form a government on his own? Or will he then need to extend cooperation to other parties from across the country?
I guess we'll soon find out. Fascinating and exciting at the same time. Ibrahim Suffian, thanks so much. We look forward to finding out the results in a little more than 24 hours. Thank you.